So I think most people who watch tier lists are people who've rolled the class that they're playing, got it to level 40, and it turns out it sucks. And therefore, they're looking at a class that they can re-roll so they can actually appear on the DPS meters. Hopefully by the end of this video you should have a better peace of mind, but do remember it is still early days. The meta could totally shift in a couple of weeks. In fact, already if we look at today's logs, you can see that the warrior is slowly creeping up, and so is the elemental shaman. I mean, we don't really need to spend a lot of time on this. My honest prediction is that melee hunter, fire mage, warlock priest, ele shaman, and warrior and rogue are probably going to be pretty good for the whole of phase 2, and then everything else is either going to be in the middle of the pack or, unfortunately, D tier. As you can see, when you start to mess around with item level, the classes do start shifting about, namely, to nobody's surprise, the warrior is going up and also the enhancement shaman. And this is because obviously these specs do scale with gear, so a lot of the time you just have to be patient. But to be honest, it does kind of look like paladins and druids this phase are just not doing that well. So I wouldn't be re-rolling to a druid or a paladin until, later on in phase 2 when we know what kind of DPS they're going to be doing in good gear. One thing to really consider when picking a new main also is the popularity of that class. As we can see, warriors and rogues and mages are very, very popular. It's very rare that you see groups looking for those classes because they've probably already got them. So if you re-roll to that class, you may find it difficult to find a group even if you are the strongest DPS. But if you re-rolled a hunter or a warlock, for example, you would find it easier. And to be honest, from my experience of looking at the LFG chat, I'm always seeing people looking for warlocks and hunters. Look, if you're in that diabolical situation where your main is absolutely sucking on the meters and it feels very unsatisfying to play your class, then yes, you can go ahead and re-roll. These classes that are currently in S tier on Archon are probably very good safe bets. However, it's important to note that I personally think that the Feral Druid and Enhancement Shaman are going to start doing better and better DPS as the expansion goes on, as they get access to better gear that increases, speeds up their melee attack speed. And honestly, in this phase, the casters are looking good right now, but I think many of the casters are probably going to roll down to A tier because the gear in Gnomeregan is it's just so bad, to be honest. Or unless Blizzard introduce any changes to the loot table, cold hard truth is that it's very melee favoured, and obviously hunter favoured also. In my humble opinion, unless your class is doing very, very poorly on the meters to the point where you're actually struggling to get into groups because, your class is just so bad that people don't want it, then you may want to consider re-rolling, but I personally would wait a couple of weeks before that does happen, because you really don't know how things are going to change. But nonetheless, when things do change and every time there is actually a serious meta shift, I am going to make a video. I am going to keep very up-to-date tier list videos for phase 2, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss those. And if you're falling behind, guys, and you're struggling to find dungeon groups, one of the best ways that you can level is getting Rustic Speed. It's a leveling guide made by the world record holding speed levelers in the game. It gives you loads and tips and tricks, skips, best runes to get on the way. Don't forget to use my discount code in the description of this video. But anyway, until the next video, ciao.